I'm coming. Tony, what kind of video are we going to shoot today?
I'm going to teach Kylene how to dink, but then let's work on some non-volley zone strategies that players make all the time, errors that they're making consistently, CJ.
You mean we're not going to talk about the rules? We're going to talk about non-volley zone strategies? That sounds pretty cool.
I think it's going to be amazing. Plus, if you think you're playing a really good non-volley zone game, you can use what you learn in this video to take advantage of your opponents and score those easy points. CJ says, no way. Oh, no. Can't lose now.
Beat up on him. Come on, beat up. Well, don't hit it to me. I'm CJ. This is Kylene. Here comes Vince.
And I don't need introduction, CJ, because I got a mic. I'm Tony.
And together, we're Better Pickleball, and we are committed to helping you live your best life on and off the pickleball courts. Tony, there are a lot of players who get up to the non-volley zone line, and they really have no strategy. They may have a little strategy on the serve and the return of serve, but they get up here, and strategy seems to go out the window.
That's what we refer to sometimes, CJ, as poke and hope, right? Just kind of poke the ball, hope something good happens. But there's a better way, CJ.
There is a better way, and that is to be intentional about your shots. So that's mistake number one that we're seeing at the NVZ is players are not intentional with their shots. So what does that look like, Tony?
Well, when you're playing, what you want to do is you want to pick a target. So there's 3 spots to your shot. There's where you're making contact with the ball. So that would be the first spot. Then the second spot is where it clears the net. And then the third spot is where you're aiming it. What we're focusing on right now is your third spot. So where you're aiming your shot. Because CJ, we've talked about this, right? But when you know where you're hitting it, you can get your body ready to send the ball into that spot, right?
Exactly. You need to, your body, your brain needs to tell your body where to position itself to be able to hit the ball. So if you don't have a target, the position of your body may not be correct. So the first thing you want to do is pick a target on the other side of the net. And Tony, what's one of the easiest targets to start with?
Well, what we recommend is to build this muscle, right? There's all sorts of spots you can aim for, right? But if you want to build this muscle, what you want to do is start by using the legs of your opponents. So let's say in this case, CJ, why don't we pick the right legs of Kylene and Vince who are helping us out today. So I'm going to go to his right leg right there. That was pretty good. And her right leg right here, right? So now I'm going to the right leg. So CJ will go to the right leg. Nice one, CJ. Tough one there. Excellent, excellent. And then we can move it around, right? So you start going right leg, and then let's try some left leg. So I'm going to go left leg now.
And I'm going to go back to the right leg.
Love it. As long as you're intentional, right? So you can go left leg or you can go right leg, right? You pick. And that puts a lot of stress on your opponents when you're moving them around, right?
If you keep dinking back to the exact same place time and time again, you're giving your opponent a chance to get into a rhythm. And by coming up and picking a target and then starting to move it around, you give them the opportunity to make a mistake from their movement.
And the nice thing is that by using your opponent's legs, it gives you it's almost like a cone on the court, right, CJ? So there, I'm using Vince's leg as my cone, right, as my target. Wow, CJ, that was a tough ball, so she went left leg there. But that's a really good way of building that intentionality in your game is by picking those spots left to right and working on that technique.
All right, Tony, so we've covered intentionality. Now we're getting into mistake number 2. We see this one a lot as well, and it's attacking the unattackable shot.
Players attacking all sorts of balls, CJ. While we get ready for that, let us know in the comments below if there's an area of the non-volley zone that you see common errors in that players are making, or is it an area that maybe you're struggling with up at the non-volley zone? Because CJ and I want to help you out, and we'll make a video addressing that issue.
All right, Tony, let's start thinking about that unattackable shot now. What happens with players up here at the non-volley zone? That they're not patient. They know they need to be patient, but they're not patient.
What happens is, as players, we want to force the issue sometimes, particularly a bigger player like me. I'll come into a situation with a player like CJ and I'll say, you know what, I'm going to overpower this player. So I'll take a low, unattackable ball by definition, and I'll just rip it, right? That ball's not attackable. It's too low under the net. You saw my ball, and they're right in the net. There's another problem that CJ and I are going to show you in a minute, but the net often ends those rallies.
Well, and I think one of the reasons that players attack shots that they shouldn't, or that they think they shouldn't, is because they don't have enough confidence in their non-volley zone play and the number of dinks that they can hit.
Yeah, at the end of this video, we're gonna give you a video you can go for dink technique. Put a little work into the dink, because CJ, if I can hit one more dink than you, then what happens?
You're gonna win the rally. And here's the thing, how many dinks in a row can the players that you're playing against hit? I mean, you know, the Johns brothers, right, Tony? How many can they hit? Hundreds, maybe thousands of great dinks?
As long as you want, CJ, is the answer.
Huh?
As long as you want is the answer.
Exactly. But most of us don't play against the Johns brothers. So what do you think it is? Maybe 5, 10, 15 dinks in a row? How many can they hit?
I would say most rec players, four at the most.
Sure.
4, and they're either gonna attack the unattackable ball and make a mistake, or they're just gonna miss the dink, or they're gonna end up giving you the cookie for you to put it away.
Oh, you don't know how bad I wanted to hit that one. So all you need to do is to get comfortable with that dink technique. And like Tony said, we're gonna link to a video at the end of this video that'll help you with that technique. Get comfortable with that technique, practice your dink technique, and be able to hit one more shot than your opponents can hit.
And you win the rally, just like that.
So Tony, we have talked about being intentional, specifically picking a target. We have also talked about making sure that we're patient and we're not attacking those unattackable balls. What's the third common mistake that we see at the non-volley zone?
Common mistake, CJ, has to do with angles. What happens is players often will try and create angles with their dinks when they're not ready to cover the counter angle. And so CJ, what can we do to avoid opening up potential angles of attack with our dinks?
Well, the thing about angles, everybody loves the sexy angle, right? But angles create angles. And if we get more adept at bottling up the middle, we have less court that we have to cover.
What I see a lot of the pros doing, CJ, these days is there's a lot more of dinking right where Kylene put that ball. Right where she put that ball is a really good spot to put it, because it bottles up the angles that you all can counterattack. If we put our balls there into the middle, it's super difficult. Now we may move it a little bit to the side, right? But I'm not pulling you wide off the court. I'm never hitting beyond the lines, right? So there you're pulling me wide, there I can attack the middle, right? So we gotta be careful with the angles. Like there, I'm not pulling them off the court, then I can go to the middle there and create the attack that I want without creating the risk that Vince is unable to either do an ATP or attack us back down the middle, because now I gotta come cover this line. Much better to bottle them up, open up the court in a more controlled fashion.
So one of the things that we like to say, or one of the things that I like to think about, right, is we hear often the middle solves the riddle. And we do that pretty well at the baseline. We don't do that as well at the non-volley zone line. So Tony, show everybody, where is it that we want to give a little love to on the court?
The shot? Oh, the shot is right there. That's a great shot, very powerful shot, because it bottles up angles of attack. Then you can pull your opponent wide and then go back to the middle there. So now I go back to the middle here and then out to a little bit wide. There you go, right? But not outside the court, see? So it's an angle, but it's not excessive. See, I'm gonna pull CJ wide, but not excessive, right? I don't wanna make her go too wide. I don't create a risk of counterattack, but I still stress CJ out by moving the ball wide, but not too wide.
Tony, I think we have saved the best for last here, this bonus tip. I know that players, we get this all the time, players say, I want to play the soft game, but where I play, nobody plays the soft game. All I play against are people who want to hit it hard, who want to bang the ball. What can we do?
The bangers, CJ, are in the game to stay. So if you want to play a soft game, particularly, let's say a situation of like a player like CJ and a player like me, where I'm clearly bigger than CJ, as you can tell in the camera, a player like me is just going to start going hard, right? We're just going to bang all these balls. So, you know, it can be frustrating, right, CJ?
It can be very frustrating. So, Tony, what can I do to keep somebody like you from banging the ball?
Well, CJ, you've already been doing a pretty good job of it so far. And the key to these is you can't control what I do, right? In the sense that you can't stop me from trying to bang the ball, but you can control yourself. So maybe consider...
I don't know. What did I just do there? Should we do that one more time?
Let's do it one more time.
What have I been doing? Because I got to tell you, Tony's a pretty darn good banger. But what keeps happening to that ball?
And I'm not hitting him that hard, and I'm not hitting him that high over the net. None of my balls have landed in. So next time you're playing against a banger, watch it behind me, CJ. Next time you're playing against a banger, consider letting those balls go, and maybe you'll be able to subdue the banger. But CJ, there's more, right?
Oh, there is more. We have an entire banger course that'll help a player defeat the hard-hitting player. Make them play your game. There's nothing more painful for Tony, who's a banger, than having to dink the ball back and forth with me, playing the soft game.
Bring the banger into your world by learning how to subdue the banger, outplay the banger, as we like to say, and don't let them control the tempo of your game.
You know what, Tony? You really can't control the banger.
Actually, CJ, you can if you start using the technique that you learned in this video, as well as in the course that CJ mentioned earlier. Bring the bangers into your world and make them play your type of game.
So not only do you have the Beat the Banger course, you also, we promised you that dink technique video, which we're going to link to right over here. Get yourself out on the courts, practice so that you can hit one more dink than your opponent, and have fun out there.